Hey guys, this is Pradipta. Welcome back to another video. So today I'm gonna be talking about some of my first favorite fantasy reads as a beginner's guide to fantasy. Fantasy as a genre, I have started reading it since last year, and I wasn't really into it before because I couldn't get myself into the worlds. It used to feel very intimidating because of the size and the worlds, but when I found the right books, it became my favorite genre of all time. Now I'm a fantasy nerd. I read every fantasy book out there is. So in today's video, I'm gonna recommend you some books that are the beginner's level fantasy, and if you want to get into fantasy, if you're someone who doesn't read fantasy a lot but want to get in this genre, then I think these books will be a great help to you. So the first book I'm going to mention is Darker Shades of Magic by Victoria V.E. Schwab, and this is a recent read for me, but this book is about 4 different Londons in parallel universe sort of way, and one of them is Red London, which is filled with magic. Another one of this Grey London, which is our London, and there's this Black London which is destroyed because the evil way the magic was used there. And then there's White London, which is almost at the age of extinction because of the way they're using their magic, the bad way they're using their magic. So we follow our main character Kel, who has this rare ability to transform between worlds, and he's called the Antari. So Kel's world is the Red London where magic exists, and Kel himself is a magician. One day, Kay meets this pickpocket named Lila, and she's in Grey London, in our London, and obviously she doesn't know that these other Londons exist. She doesn't know that magic exists. So when they meet, there's this beautiful yet very complex friendship formed, and they set out on an adventure, and that's what the book is about. I'm recommending this because this is a very basic magic system, and I think it's very easy to get into it because it's a very classic fantasy book. I mean, there's just magic, and there's the way they're doing things is at first it's very easy to get into. Also, V.E. Schwab is a wonderful, amazing writer. If you like this one, you can check out her other books. Also, this is a series. This is the first book of the series. This is a great series to binge now. There's this character called Lila, as I mentioned, and she's just one of my most favorite book crushes of all time. I love her so much. You'll fall in love with the characters, you'll fall in love with the story, you'll fall in love with the world because it's so full of adventures and magic. Also, I want to mention this is an adult fantasy, so there's a lot of dark stuffs happening in here. So it's not a young adult fantasy, it's an adult fantasy. But other than that, if you can take that, this is a must read. One of Victoria Schwab's best and one of Victoria Schwab's most fun book there is. Give this one a read, you won't be disappointed. You'll be swept into the world with Lala and Kel. It's an amazing adventure, an amazing story, and obviously very good for the beginners because, well, it's the writing style and the magic system and the world and the characters are very easy to get into. You'll love it. The next book I'm going to talk about is not only one of my favorite books of all time, but also it's one of the first fantasy books I ever read in my life. And this book made me fall in love with the fantasy genre. And it's a very popular book. If you're a bookworm, you probably have heard of it. It's called The Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. And Leigh Bardugo is my queen. I've read so many of her books, and her writing style is just, especially her character works. I mean, all the characters she creates, I just wanna be friends with every one of them. And it's amazing. So in this book, we follow 6 different characters who come along together. They're misfits and thieves, and they're all different sorts of people, and they come together to put off this heist that they're assigned to do. And it's just, this book has a very beautiful magic system. This is the whole universe of, this is called the Grishaverse, the magic system of this book, and there are many other books in this Grishaverse, but my favorite is Six of Crows Duology. And the main reason why I love this book so much, because the characters here, I really wanna have talks with them about life. I mean, they're just so incredible. The book is, you'll feel like it's a bit of slow paced in the beginning, but you'll get used to it because that's necessary. You see, Leigh Bardugo takes time with her characters, so when you read a lot about that character, you'll start to feel very attached to every one of them, which she does so creatively and beautifully. And the main reason why I love this trilogy so much is the characters, every single one of them. I mean, I can choose my favorite because I love 6 of them equally and so much. And if you want some very lovable characters with a very adventurous, high story and a very cool magic system, give this one a read. If you're a new fantasy reader, then I would say it will get a little bit time to get used to the fantasy because it's set in a completely different world than ours. But if you give it enough time, and if you just get past that first uncomfortableness that what's happening, I don't understand anything, which was my case, but I got over that. And once I got past that, this was one of the most interesting and amazing books I've ever read. Please give this one a read. This will change your life, I swear. The next book I'm going to talk about is called The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This is a very recent read. I have read it last month and I loved it so much. This is a favorite of 2021, that's for sure. This book is about a girl named Nora Seed who attempts suicide because of depression and obviously a lot of hard things going on in her life. But when she dies, when she commits suicide, after that she finds herself in a place where between death and life, there's this library called the Midnight Library where these shelves upon shelves, they're packed with books. Every single one of those books are the alternate lives of Nora that could have been, if she made a different decision at one point or another in her life, how would have her life turned out to be? This book is about that. Nora lives different lives through those books and she comes to realize a lot of things about life and depression, and obviously, is life really worth living for? This book is very fast-paced and the plot is just so interesting. It's so easy to get into. You'll be turning the pages since page 1. If you're going through reading slump, I will suggest that you give this book a try because it got me out of one of my reading slumps and it was so amazing, so unique. The plot, I've never read anything like this and I don't think I'll read again anything like this. And the main part I want to say, as you are reading this as a beginner level fantasy, because it has a fantasy element to it, but it almost feels like contemporary because it keeps happening in our world, like Nora's different lives, she keeps living those, the main concept is fantasy, yes, and magical realism, but other than that, this whole book is set in our world. There's not much magic or different sort of world or powers. It's just a normal human being who just finds herself in a situation where she gets to live these different lives, and that part is fantastical, and that's why this is a fantastic fantasy book. But other than that, this is a very easy read if you're not a fantasy reader, because it's almost the whole book is set in our world. And give this one a read. This one was very unique and creative and beautiful, and it's awesome. The next book I'm going to talk about, I don't have the physical copy of that book, but so I'll just show you guys the thumbnail in the video. The book is called The Wicked Deep by Chi Earnshaw, I guess her name is. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. This is also one of the first fantasy books I've ever read in my life, and this is about a girl named Penny and a guy named Bo. It's set in a city called Sparrow, which has these legends of three sisters who are killed because they're accused of witchery and magic. And so a long time ago, almost 300 years or 400 years from now, these three sisters, they were called the Swan sisters. They were killed by the villagers, and since then there's this curse in this town where every year during a specific time, three guys from the village goes missing and they turn up dead. And it's a very beautiful story. Penny is someone, our main character Penny. She is someone who lives in Sparrow since her childhood, and she is someone who goes through this process every year, who loses someone who is known to her every year since they're. So when Bo, the guy, our main character, the guy, when he arrives in this town in a very mysterious way, because nobody knows what he's up to, what he's doing here, a stranger, why has he come here? And Bo and Penny forms this friendship, and we slowly begin to reveal the secrets of Bo and Penny, both of them. And it's a very interesting book because it has such a gothic, atmospheric vibe to it. You can feel like you're in that island, you're in that town, you're in that scenes that are happening, and it's such an eerie feeling because this book is just the one word I can use for this book. It's very interesting. I mean, and once you get past the middle part, it gets so interesting. You won't be able to put it down. It's so beautiful written, so lyrical and poetic the writing is, and there are some characters that I loved so much when I first read this book. The characters are filled with flaws and complex character traits, which I adore in books because that makes the character more human. And that is why I love this book so much. And this is also a very easy read because it's set in our world, in this town. There's just these magical elements to it. That's why it's a fantasy. And other than that, it's very easy to get into, super interesting, a huge page turner and captivating. And yeah, so give this one a read. Alright guys, that's it for today. See you in my next video. If you like my video and if you want to get some more recommendations video in future, subscribe to my channel. And you can also tell me different ideas about in what trope you want the recommendations in the comment section. I will obviously try to do those videos. And so yeah, that's it. Bye.